California Christmas begins by showing a wealthy young man named Joseph Van Aston, the only son and heir to the fortune of a woman who owns many luxury hotels. That day, Joseph was enjoying his life as usual by having fun with a beautiful woman to spend one night. He always hung out with a different woman every night because he got bored easily, and there wasn't a single woman he was interested in yet. After parting with the woman, Joseph went to the office with his personal assistant, Leo, to discuss hotel business matters with his mother. Joseph's mother asked Joseph to go to a California town and persuade a girl to sell her farm to their company. Previously they had offered the girl a fairly high price, but she still insisted on keeping her property for personal reasons. Hearing his mother's explanation, Joseph immediately refused because the possibility for the girl to give up her farm would be very slight and his efforts would be in vain. But after his mother said he would be promoted to director of their company if he succeeded in persuading the girl, Joseph agreed to the request. The next day, Joseph traveled to California with Leo to a rural neighborhood that still had many farms and vineyards. After arriving at the destination, Joseph changes his clothes to more casual ones and plans to seduce the girl who owns the farm with his good looks and charisma. Before leaving, he asked Leo to find an inn around the place so he could contact him if he needed anything. When Joseph arrived at the farm, he saw a girl helping a cow give birth in a barn. While paying attention to her, he was suddenly approached by a little girl named Hannah, who immediately asked him to bring a bucket of water to the coast to help with the birthing process. Hannah thought Joseph was a farm laborer who wanted to work at their place, and he immediately followed her to the coast without saying a word. While in the coast, Joseph met a farm owner girl named Callie, who immediately asked him to help with the birth of her cow. Although he initially seemed nervous about pulling the calf, in the end, they could confirm that the calf was born safe and in good health. When Joseph was about to introduce his real identity, Callie first called him Manny, the name of a man who wanted to become a farmer at Callie's place. Hearing this, Joseph decided to hide his real identity and disguised himself as Manny so that he could approach Callie and persuade her to sell her farmland later. On Joseph's first day on the job, Callie took Joseph to a van that would later become his residence for a while. After that, she told him about the list of jobs he had to complete on the farm in the next few days. After Callie left, Joseph immediately called Leo and told him his plan to approach Callie by pretending to be Manny. He then asks Leo to find the real Manny and gives him money so he doesn't come to Callie's farm. Leo met the real Manny by chance while buying beer at a tavern. So he immediately offered him $3,000 on the condition that Manny would not show up at Callie's farm and hide for a few days until Joseph finished his business with Callie. Manny accepts the offer of considerable money and helps Leo find a good inn around the city. Elsewhere, Callie is having lunch with Hannah and her mother while talking. Their conversation shows that Callie's father, who previously took care of their ranch, died in a car accident several years ago. So Callie had to take care of the farm alone while working part-time at a bar to cover the cost of treating her mother, who was sick with cancer. Moreover, her father left enough debt before his death that she had to work hard to pay off her father's debts so that the bank would not confiscate their property. Callie's mother continues to persuade Callie to sell their farmland, but she insists on maintaining the farm that her father has built for a long time. When Callie was about to leave the house, she found a letter from the bank asking her to immediately pay off all debts from her father, so she quickly took the letter and hid it so her mother wouldn't worry. Not long after, a Callie's friend named Connor came up to Callie. Connor is one of Callie's close friends who knows about her family and financial problems, so he often feels concerned about her. On the other hand, Joseph came to the inn where Leo and Manny would stay together for a while. He tells Leo to always pick up the phone from Joseph's mother and tell her to give Joseph a few days so he can approach Callie and persuade her to sign a contract to sell the farm. After that, Joseph asked Manny to teach him about all the work that must be done by a farmer. Manny agreed to Joseph's request on the condition that he had to pay some money and rent out a luxurious room at their hotel. The next day, Joseph started doing all the tasks Callie had given him, from cleaning the coast and chopping wood to milking the cows. Meanwhile, Manny and Leo were relaxing at the inn, playing video games and drinking wine. At the same time, Manny gave Joseph directions on how to do all the chores on the farm over the phone. When Joseph was milking while calling Manny, Hannah suddenly appeared and almost caught him communicating with the real Manny. Fortunately, she had not had time to hear his conversation with Manny, and Callie, who came to the stable, immediately asked Hannah to leave to avoid interfering with Joseph's work. In the evening, when Callie checks the coast to check all of Joseph's work, she finds that the cow's feed bucket is empty, so she asks Joseph to help her retrieve the cattle feed stock from the barn. Joseph then took the opportunity to approach Callie and ask about her current busy life. She replied that she worked in a bar every night, while during the day, she tried to take care of the farm and vineyard that her father had abandoned. Hearing this, Joseph seems surprised that Callie could work day and night without getting enough rest. The scene changes to the moment when Callie tells her co-workers at the bar about her mother's illness, which hasn't improved even though she has had chemotherapy several times. That night, Joseph accidentally came to the bar where Callie works to talk with her. But Leo and Manny, who were supposed to be waiting in the car, went into the bar and almost exposed Joseph's disguise. Fortunately, Leo immediately took Manny away from the bar so that Connor, who accidentally to be there, did not realize Joseph's true identity. As it was late at night, a drunk Connor started teasing and inappropriately touching Callie, so Joseph felt angry and immediately hit him. Luckily their fight didn't last long because Callie immediately stopped them and forced them to leave the bar. The next day, Callie showed her father's motorbike to Joseph and told him about the day the car accident killed her father. Not long after, Hannah came over to Callie and asked her to help prepare dinner. Callie decided to invite Joseph to have dinner together at her house and at the same time, introduce him to her mother. Since that night, Joseph has become more and more active doing all his work on the farm, and his relationship with Callie's family has grown closer. That night, Joseph received a message from his mother asking about his progress in persuading Callie to sell her land. Joseph's mother said that she would come in person to see Callie if he couldn't get Callie's autograph in the next few days. After that, Joseph went to Leo's place and told him about all the problems that Callie's family experienced then, and he became doubtful whether he would really ask Callie to give up her farm that had been abandoned by her father. Leo told Joseph to follow his heart to make the right decision for all parties. After that, Manny came with a bottle of wine and showed off his skill in guessing the composition of each wine they drank. The next day, Callie took Joseph to the vineyard that had been abandoned by her grandfather, where several decades ago, Callie's grandfather brought grape seeds from France to be planted in his garden. After the vineyard was bequeathed to Callie's father, he borrowed money from the bank to produce wine and sell it. But unfortunately, the effort failed for several reasons, and he left a large amount of debt. While pouring a bottle of wine, Callie told Joseph about her past with her father and her mother's cancer. She revealed that she insisted on maintaining the farm and not selling it despite being offered a high price, and that this farm has many precious memories for her and her father. Joseph saw the sadness in Callie's eyes, immediately felt guilty for her, and tried to comfort her with a kiss. Then, Callie gave Joseph a bottle of wine formulated by her late grandfather. After that, Joseph contacted Leo to tell him about his plan to reveal his real identity to Callie. Joseph immediately approached Callie to tell her who he really was and for what purpose he came to her place. However, Joseph, who had fallen in love with Callie, ended up canceling his plan and immediately kissed her. Shortly after, Hannah comes to tell Callie about their mother, who still hasn't woken up from her sleep. Hearing this, Callie immediately ran to check her mother's condition and found that her mother had lost consciousness. Joseph immediately helped Callie take her mother to the hospital so that she could receive treatment immediately. Fortunately, after receiving treatment and medication, Callie's mother finally regained consciousness and recovered. Even though Callie's mother has resigned herself to her fate, Callie is still trying to ensure her mother gets regular treatment. A few days later, Joseph surprises Callie by repairing her father's broken motorbike so they can ride it again. After dropping Callie off at a bar, Joseph takes a short trip to rip the land sales contract from his mother and decides to help Callie maintain her ranch. On the other hand, Leo got word that Joseph's mother would come to Callie's farm tomorrow to ask Callie to sell her land. Hearing this, he immediately went to see Joseph and tell him about it. But by the time Leo arrived at the bar, Joseph and Callie had already left the bar and he couldn't reach Joseph. At the same time, Leo got a call from Joseph's mother, and Connor, who accidentally to be there, overheard their conversation. After Connor discovers Joseph's real identity, he finally finds out who Joseph really is. The next day, Callie gets a message from Connor telling her who Joseph really is and asking her not to trust him anymore. Not long after, Joseph's mother came with her assistant and went straight to Callie to talk about the price of Callie's farm. She offered a higher price than the previous offer so that later Callie could pay off her debts at the bank and pay for her mother's care. However, Callie firmly refused the offer and asked Joseph's mother to leave her house immediately. After Joseph's mother left, Joseph attempted to apologize to Callie and explained that all his feelings for her were real. However, Callie, disappointed because she had been lied to and betrayed, could not forgive him that easily. The next day, when Joseph was about to return to his hometown, he gave Manny a bottle of wine that Callie had previously given him. After realizing that the wine is unique and special, they decided to offer it to wine producers. After a wine company director named Bob tasted the wine, he was immediately willing to sell the wine at a fairly high price. In the evening, Joseph immediately repairs Callie's long-damaged vineyard and tells Callie that he has found a company willing to cook her grandfather's wine. The next day, Bob came to Callie's vineyard and wine cellar to check the quality of the wine in the wine drum. And after tasting the wine, Bob immediately offered Callie to supply her wine at a very high price. Hearing this, she was very happy and immediately told her mother about the good news. Callie never thought that the farm and vineyard she had maintained so far would solve all her family's financial problems. Long story short, Callie and her family celebrate Christmas together on the farm to celebrate their success. At the Christmas party, Joseph came back to apologize to Callie, and finally, she was willing to forgive him because after all, they both love each other. The film closes with a scene where Callie and Joseph are back together and kiss romantically. The moral that can be learned from this movie is, if we take care of the things that are precious to our families, then it will help us in the future.